Hello and welcome to Mind Matters, the channel that dives deep into mental health and personal growth. Today's topic is something we all face at some point in our lives: fear of failure. This fear can be paralyzing. It holds us back from taking risks, pursuing our dreams, or even trying new things because we're so afraid of the possibility of not succeeding. But here's the thing: failure isn't the enemy. In fact, it's often the path to growth, learning, and eventually success. So, how can we overcome this fear and reframe failure in a way that empowers us instead of stopping us in our tracks? In this video, we'll go through practical steps you can take to conquer your fear of failure and start living life on your own terms. Before we dive into strategies, let's first understand what the fear of failure really is. Fear of failure, also known as I-phobia, is an intense fear of making mistakes, being judged, or falling short of expectations. It's that nagging voice inside your head that tells you, what if this doesn't work out? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm just not good enough? For some people, this fear is tied to perfectionism, where the pressure to perform perfectly prevents them from even trying. For others, it might be rooted in past failures that still haunt them. Regardless of the cause, fear of failure can make you avoid taking risks, miss opportunities, and ultimately stop you from reaching your full potential. But what if you could shift your perspective and see failure not as something to fear, but as an essential part of the learning process? That's exactly what we're going to explore today. The first step in conquering your fear of failure is to reframe your definition of what failure means. Many of us grow up with the belief that failure is the opposite of success, but in reality, failure is often a stepping stone to success. Most people who have achieved great things in life didn't get there without failing along the way. In fact, failure is one of the best teachers. Think of famous examples like Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, or Oprah Winfrey, who was fired from her first job as a television reporter. These people didn't let failure define them, they let it guide them towards success. When you start to view failure as a learning opportunity, you'll see that each setback brings valuable lessons that can help you grow. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" start asking, "What can I learn from this if I don't succeed?" By reframing failure, you take away its power to paralyze you. You begin to see it as part of the process rather than the end of the road. The next step in overcoming fear of failure is to set realistic expectations for yourself. One of the reasons people fear failure is that they set their goals impossibly high. They aim for perfection, which is, of course, unattainable. When you set unrealistic standards, any outcome that falls short feels like a failure, even if it's actually a step forward. To conquer this, break your goals into smaller, more manageable steps. Instead of focusing on the end result, focus on making progress. Celebrate small wins along the way, because each of them brings you closer to your larger goal. By setting realistic expectations, you create room for growth, learning, and improvement. This takes some of the pressure off and makes the possibility of failure feel less overwhelming. Another essential tool for conquering the fear of failure is to adopt a growth mindset. A growth mindset, a concept developed by psychologist Carol Dweck, is the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and perseverance. People with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities to improve, rather than as threats to their competence. On the other hand, a fixed mindset assumes that talent, intelligence, and ability are set in stone, and any failure is a reflection of one's inherent worth. If you're in a fixed mindset, the fear of failure can be particularly crippling because it feels like failing proves you're not good enough. Shifting to a growth mindset helps you see failure as part of the journey to improvement. When you embrace the idea that you can get better through effort and learning, failure becomes less of a setback and more of a springboard for growth. So the next time you face a challenge, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And how can this help me improve? By focusing on growth rather than the fear of failure, you give yourself permission to try, learn, and eventually succeed. Conquering your fear of failure isn't just about thinking differently, it's also about taking action, even when it's scary. One of the best ways to overcome fear is to face it head on. If you wait until you're 100% confident or until the perfect time, you may never take the plunge. Fear of failure thrives on inaction. The longer you wait, the bigger your fear grows. Start by taking small, manageable steps. These low-stakes actions can help build your confidence. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, start by presenting in front of a few friends rather than a large crowd. If you're scared of launching a project at work, start with a small pilot and gather feedback. The key here is to act before you feel ready. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act despite the fear. As you take small steps and experience some wins along the way, you'll build momentum and start to realize that failure isn't as terrifying as it seems. With each action, your fear will start to diminish. Another powerful way to conquer your fear of failure is to redefine what success means to you. Many of us define success in narrow terms, such as achieving a specific goal, winning, or being the best. But what if you expanded your definition of success to include growth, learning, and personal development? When you redefine success in this broader way, failure becomes part of the process. Instead of measuring success solely by the outcome, you start to value the effort you put in, the lessons you learn, and the ways you grow along the way. For example, if you set out to run a marathon and don't complete it, but you trained hard, improved your fitness, and pushed your limits, is that really a failure? Or is it a success in terms of personal growth? When you focus on the journey rather than just the destination, you start to see that success and failure aren't opposites. They're both integral parts of the process. We all have that little voice in our heads that criticizes us, tells us we're not good enough, and amplifies our fear of failure. This inner critic can be especially loud when we're about to take a risk or try something new. One of the key steps to overcoming fear of failure is learning how to manage this inner voice. Instead of letting it control your actions, acknowledge it, but don't let it dictate your decisions. When you hear that critical voice saying, "You're going to fail," or "You're not smart enough," counter it with positive, rational thoughts. Remind yourself of past successes, skills you've developed, and the hard work you've put in. Also, remember that self-compassion is key. It's okay to make mistakes and not be perfect. Speak to yourself the way you'd speak to a close friend who's struggling, kindly, patiently, and with understanding. By learning to quiet your inner critic, you can reduce the fear of failure and approach challenges with greater confidence. Lastly, one of the most effective ways to conquer your fear of failure is to shift your focus from fear to opportunity. Often when we're afraid of failure, we focus entirely on the negative. What could go wrong? How will I feel if I fail? What will others think of me? But what if instead you focused on the potential positives? Ask yourself, what opportunities could arise if I succeed? What new skills will I gain by trying? How will this experience help me grow, even if it doesn't go as planned? By focusing on the potential benefits instead of the potential risks, you'll be more motivated to take action and less likely to let fear hold you back. This shift in perspective can turn fear into excitement and transform challenges into opportunities. Fear of failure is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to control your decisions or limit your potential. By reframing failure, setting realistic expectations, adopting a growth mindset, and taking action, you can begin to conquer your fear and move toward your goals with confidence. Remember, failure isn't the end, it's a step on the path to success. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn, grow, and get better. So the next time you feel fear creeping in, remind yourself that it's okay to fail. What's important is that you try, learn, and keep moving forward. Thank you for watching today's episode of Mind Matters. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future content. Keep working towards your goals and don't let fear hold you back. Until next time, take care.